during our other webinar on What's New with PEW for educational and learning leaders for a session tailored more closely to your context and needs. This webinar was designed in partnership with Everactive Schools, the Healthy Schools Lab, and the Alberta Regional Professional Development Consortia, or the ARPDC. Everactive Schools is a registered national charity designed to create and support healthy school communities. The Healthy Schools Lab is based in the University of Alberta, and their mission statement is as follows. Through research, education, and action, the Healthy Schools Lab will heighten awareness and understanding of issues and opportunities surrounding health and wellness in the K to PhD education system and contribute to the collective development of a healthy, active society. The Alberta Regional Professional Development Consortia has a mission statement that reads, promote student learning and achievement, school improvement, and parental engagement in educational process through the provision of professional learning opportunities at the local, regional, and provincial levels. As we always do at Everactive Schools, we will start our session with a land acknowledgement. We begin by giving thanks for the traditional and ancestral territory that is our meeting ground today. We acknowledge the many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit whose footsteps have marked these lands for generations. We are grateful for the stewardship and teachings of elders and traditional knowledge keepers and the efforts of youth and individuals who continue to protect land and language. This reading is an acknowledgement of the historical relationship between Indigenous and non-Indigenous communities on Turtle Island and is a call to action to walk together towards reconciliation. For our session today, we have the following outcomes outlined. We want to develop an understanding of the new physical education and wellness curriculum. We also want you to learn about the philosophy and structure of the curriculum, discover how to navigate the New Learn Alberta website, and explore different resources for each organizing idea that is contained within the curriculum. To start things off, we will begin by taking a look at the structure of the Alberta K-6 curriculum. The physical education and wellness curriculum in Alberta has evolved over time. In 2000, physical education was taught as an independent course for K-9, followed by the introduction of a health and life skills K-9 and life management 10-12. Over the last decade or so, starting in 2014, there was intention for a new curriculum to be developed. And after a few rounds of consultations and renewals, we have come to 2022 and the introduction of the new physical education and wellness curriculum. The hope is that by 2024, this will be rolled out across more grades in a more comprehensive manner. The new physical education and wellness curriculum aims to promote the development of the whole individual and to nurture students in their pursuit of a healthy and active lifestyle. This curriculum is designed with a more holistic approach. It focuses on developing all areas of wellness, including physical, mental, spiritual, emotional, social, financial, and others. The subjects of formerly physical education and health have been merged intentionally. We want to focus on developing the physical, but also those other elements of wellness that have been previously mentioned. This new curriculum highlights individual growth, but also a connection to the community and a focus on social skills as well. It promotes growth towards informed decision-making to better personal life and the lives of the other. This session supports physical education and wellness education in a comprehensive, holistic way. The following graphic really reinforces the connections of the holistic approach of this curriculum. It reinforces that the organizing ideas, which we'll talk about as our webinar progresses, are interconnected. They're not necessarily supposed to be developed or taught in a linear manner. In fact, there's a lot of overlap and these organizing ideas are often cyclical in nature. It's not a one and done type curriculum where you can check a box and move on. While you're working on things like healthy relationships, you're more than likely going to be working on things like character development and growth and development as well. So there's a lot of overlap in this curriculum, and that is done intentionally. We want to really reinforce the connection to the body and the mind in all areas of wellness. This is why we use this graphic to show all the different connections between the physical education and wellness aspects of this curriculum. We're going to dive into the framework of the new curriculum, and we want to introduce the different elements as a whole. To start with, we have organizing ideas. These organizing ideas are followed by guiding questions and then learning outcomes, which are then followed by the cusps. The progressions, which are in purple on the screen, are kind of interwoven throughout the curriculum and live amongst all subjects. This framework is consistent across subjects. This is very helpful for educators, especially those of you that are generalists, because when you're navigating different curriculums, you'll be able to read them and interpret them in much a similar manner. Always starting with organizing ideas, following a guiding question, then a learning outcome, and the cusps underneath, with those progressions existing across subjects. Again, this is very helpful for navigating the different curriculums and understanding the framework. This is why we think it's important to highlight the framework and really emphasize learning how the new framework is organized and structured, as it will help you better implement the curriculum. When we dive into the organizing ideas, which there are 8 of, you can see listed here, despite it being difficult to make direct correlations to old curricular documents due to structural design changes, many educators relate these to the ABCDs of the old physical education curriculum, or the health, relationship, and life learning choices of the former health curriculum. According to the guiding framework of Alberta education, when considering organizing ideas, and this is a direct quote, we start with the end in mind. The organizing idea is a statement of the learning within a given section of a subject area or discipline. The organizing ideas are intended to be logical categories that communicate the goals of education within each section of a subject area. As you can see from the given graphic, there are 8 organizing ideas. We have active living, movement skill development, character development, safety, healthy eating, healthy relationships, growth and development, and financial literacy. These organizing ideas are consistent across the K-6 physical education and wellness curriculum. Despite these separations in organizing ideas, as evidenced by the web on the previous slide, all of the organizing ideas are in many ways interconnected, reinforcing the holistic approach of this document and suggesting that this curriculum isn't necessarily meant to be taught in a linear manner at all times. You can also see by our graphic that the student is at the center, and each of these organizing ideas are going to feed into each other and help the student develop on a more holistic level. Next up, we have guiding questions. Alberta education suggests that the guiding questions are informed by the organizing idea and frame the learning outcome. Questions spark curiosity and wonder, which inspires truth-seeking, understanding, and a lifelong love of learning. Guiding questions are a good tool to guide your assessment. You could ask yourself, could my students answer this question confidently? Moving a step further, we take a look at our learning outcomes. The learning outcomes are what students should know, understand, and demonstrate. The learning outcomes are quite broad, but for more specifics, you can look to the knowledge, understanding, and skills and procedures, affectionately known as the Cusps, which we will talk about in a minute. The learning outcomes, again, are describing what the students are required to know, understand, and be able to do by the end of a grade. Student achievement of the learning outcome must be assessed and reported. In physical education and wellness, the number of learning outcomes stays the same across all kindergarten to grade 3 grades with 10 learning outcomes. There is an 11th outcome added in grade 4, and it continues to be 11 outcomes in grade 5 and 6. And this outcome is added in relation to growth and development and the introduction of human sexuality content. It is also important to note that for each organizing idea, there is only one associated outcome with 2 exceptions. Movement skill development has 3 outcomes, and as mentioned, growth and development gets a 2nd outcome starting in grade 4. Moving forward, we dive into the Cusps, the knowledge, understanding, skills, and procedures. The knowledge. What does a student need to know? Well-sequenced core knowledge is foundational to all learning. Knowledge is learned in order for students to understand and do something. Knowledge, including facts, is not disconnected trivia, but instead builds toward understanding and skills and procedures. That was a direct quote from the guiding framework for the design and development of kindergarten to grade 12 provincial curriculum. When we're considering understanding, we're thinking of how a student applies the knowledge that they have learned. Again, a direct quote. Understanding is about putting pieces of knowledge into logical and meaningful order with other knowledge. Understanding is more complex than knowledge, showing that a student is learning how to organize knowledge to understand a concept. By understanding, one can apply what they have learned to new situations in other contexts. Understanding is more than knowledge, but impossible without it. Finally, we jump into skills and procedures. This considers how a student can demonstrate their knowledge and understanding, and it is a key element for assessment. Skills and procedures are what students do to demonstrate their knowledge and understanding. They are specific skills, methods, tools, strategies, and processes that students will develop as they achieve the learning outcome. Again, that's a direct quote from the guiding framework for the design and development of kindergarten to grade 12 provincial curriculum. So another way of looking at this is considering the Cusps as a guide to outcomes. They are linked to the outcomes in such a way that you cannot achieve an outcome without covering the Cusps associated with it. They are a great tool for getting into greater detail related to the outcome and can serve as a guide to help with planning and delivery of individual lessons, as well as mid and long range planning. While Cusps naturally build upon one another, for example, you cannot have understanding without knowledge, they may not always be taught in a sequential manner. For example, a grade 1 student may experience and understand that activity causes changes in their body and makes them feel different, but they may not yet have the knowledge of all the changes that can occur, such as an elevated heart rate, increased rate of breathing, increased thirst, and things like that. So while you do need knowledge first before understanding, they're not always necessarily taught in a linear fashion. An important point to note with the Cusps is that there are subtleties in language, as highlighted by this infographic from Alberta Education. Knowing the difference between what is required and what is an example is of high importance to ensure we are meeting expectations when implementing the curriculum. Key words like including indicate a requirement, while such as and for example indicate areas of choice from given lists, allowing for more flexibility in determining delivery methods and content. It's important that you take a look at this language and understand this language to ensure you are doing the required, to help ensure you are having required content and teaching required content in your lessons. Lastly, we take a look at progressions. Progressions are a combination of knowledge, skills, and characteristics a student develops and applies for successful learning. They emphasize aspects of learning across all subject areas. They work together with the learning outcomes to prepare students in leading a successful life, and they identify behaviors a student should demonstrate by the end of a grade. These progressions are interwoven throughout the curriculum across all subjects. They help create a shared responsibility amongst all educators. Instead of operating in silos, for example, I teach physical education and you teach math, the responsibility becomes more of a shared vision in which we all feel responsible to help students with these progressions. Whether it be incorporating more movement activities and health-related conversations into your everyday classroom learning, or adding in elements of numeracy into a commonly utilized physical education game, for example, counting aloud to 10 when holding a balance, we can all help students achieve these progressions. In fact, if we are meeting the outcomes within each subject and grade level, the intention is that these progressions will be a natural result. Now that you know a bit more about the structure of the curriculum, let's take a look at how to navigate it with efficiency and ease. To get started, it's helpful to know how to access the new curriculum online. If you head over to Google and search the new Learn Alberta, you're going to want to click on this first link. If you just put in Learn Alberta, it will take you to a dated document. So you're going to want to make sure you put the new Learn Alberta. Once you click on this link, you'll be able to access the new 2022 curricular documents. On the dashboard, it's important that you look up here at the login menu. If you log in, you're going to get more access to the site, and some resources which will be locked to the public will be accessible, assuming you set up an account using your teacher email. To do that, you often need to verify that you're a teacher, so you would click into this login step and create a new account if you do not already have an existing one. Once you've logged in, you can click on the Alberta's Kindergarten to Grade 6 curriculum. From here, you can find the subject that you'd like to view. For our purposes, we're going to click on the Physical Education and Wellness Curriculum. The first thing we'd like to highlight on the website is that this button over here that says More Info is an important one. When you click on this button, you're going to get a sidebar. This is the subject introduction. It talks about what physical education and wellness are, and this is the front matter of the curriculum. It also dives into more detail about what active living, physical literacy, and personal and community well-being are. Again, this is important material and content for understanding the design of the curriculum, the overall goals of the curriculum, and gives you insight into why and how the curriculum was created in the way that it was. This button is easy to miss, but contains very important information that you should be reading if you're implementing the physical education and wellness curriculum. Another helpful button to know once you are in a grade is the collapse and expand button. So if I was to dive into grade 1, on the right-hand side, I'm going to see a button over here. It says collapse all. By clicking that, it's going to make this page easier to read. I can see the 8 organizing ideas all neatly tied together, and I don't have to scroll very far to find them all. This allows me to find the organizing idea I really want to dive into, for example, character development. And when I click on it, I'm going to be able to see the guiding question, learning outcomes, and cusps. This makes it easier to scroll through and view the cusps and the learning outcomes that are tied to a specific organizing idea that you are looking at. If you choose to expand all of the organizing ideas, you're going to get a much more comprehensive page. You can see that it all of a sudden becomes much longer to scroll. You can see all the cusps, all the outcomes, all the organizing ideas from all of the different subject matter. It's also important to note that at the top of your screen, depending on how you have your screen set up, you might see multiple grades at once. For example, right now, I'm viewing grade 1, 2, and 3. So if you want to just view one grade at a time, or perhaps 2 grades at a time, you can customize your screen to ensure you're only viewing one to make it a little bit easier to read. Another key feature that we want to point out is the printing feature. While it would seem intuitive to go to the left side and choose the printable curriculum, if you choose this option, you're going to get the full 57-page curricular document spanning from kindergarten to grade 6. While this may be helpful at times, if you're teaching one grade or not all grades from kindergarten all the way to grade 6, it can be helpful to print smaller sections of the curriculum. To do so, you're going to find a printing icon in the top right corner. If you click into this printing icon, you're going to get a lot more printing options. You can choose to print just the curriculum, or you can include the subject introduction, which we just discovered by clicking the More Info button. You can then decide which components of the curriculum you'd like to print, whether you'd like to print all organizing ideas, guiding questions, learning outcomes, and cusps, or perhaps you just want to print the outcomes and the cusps. Next, you can also select the amount of grades you print. So if you are a generalist teaching just one grade, it might be helpful for you when you're first learning the curriculum to really hone in on one grade. Then you can generate a PDF and it will be a much easier read for you. Another really important feature of the website that's sometimes hard to find is the interactive eye on the learning outcomes. If I hover over learning outcomes, this eye will appear. Upon clicking into this eye, I'm going to zoom in on this particular learning outcome. So you can see that I'm within the physical education wellness curriculum. I've chosen grade 1, and I can now see this specific learning outcome. My cusps are then organized in a much easier to read manner. I don't have to scroll as much, and this is a nice organized way to view the outcome that I'm currently targeting. A section that's important to know in here as well is you can then access resources. When clicking on the resources, you're going to be provided with some Alberta Education approved resources to target this specific outcome. You will notice that there's a variety of resources. Many of them say information only. Information only resources often require some form of payment, as for example, this is a PDF ebook or a digital download where you may be able to print it or you may have to purchase a copy. You will notice that some resources, for example, Everactive School's International Games resource, is listed as an online resource. If you are logged into your teacher account, this icon here will appear green and unlocked. This will allow you to access this resource directly for free in an online PDF format. Again, this is why it's important to log in to ensure you have full access to the curriculum. This resource section is continually being upgraded by Alberta Education, so it's important to check back in to find further resources. When I scroll up, it's also important to note that I can check competency progressions, literacy progressions, and numeracy progressions from each grade. I really find these helpful as it gives you a snapshot for each age group of students and helps you understand where they're supposed to be at in their progressions. Again, a more holistic approach to this curriculum means that even though I might be teaching physical education and wellness, I can take a look at where students are supposed to be in their numeracy or literacy journey, and I can help reinforce that by implementing some of the concepts into my games and activities during a physical education or wellness class. Again, this really reinforces the holistic concept of the curriculum and shows how those progressions live across all subject matter. In fact, when you click that interactive eye on a learning outcome, competency progressions, literacy progressions, and numeracy progressions will show up across all subject areas. So now that we know a bit more about the structure of the curriculum and how to access it, let's highlight a few additional ready-made, low-cost, and sometimes even free resources that should support you in delivering this curriculum and helping your students achieve the desired learning outcomes. Please note that when preparing this section of the webinar, we first considered the targeted organizing ideas and outcomes within them, and then considered what resource would be best to help support meeting these outcomes. This approach helps ensure we are selecting appropriate activities based on predetermined targets and goals, instead of trying to fit outcomes into pre-selected activities, an important part of planning and best practice. The first resource that we'd like to highlight is called Daily Physical Activity, or DPA Greatest Hits by Everactive Schools. This resource is jam-packed with 89 activities and adaptations for grades K to 9 to support daily physical activity in your classroom, school, or program. This resource is easy to navigate as it has a table of contents indicating which grades each activity is best suited for. It also has equipment requirements clearly listed, which most of the time are quite minimal. And a quick and easy to read description of ready-made activities is provided as well. Several activities also feature YouTube video links for those who prefer to learn visually, as well as variations to keep activities engaging and fun for all learners. Next up, we're looking at movement skill development. The Fundamental Movement Skill Flip by Everactive Schools integrates movement skills into activities that encourage participation and develop confidence in a fun and ever-changing card game. Fundamental Movement Skills Flip features new movement and a brand new suit, object control clubs, to align with updated physical education outcomes and to help children develop a wider variety of movement patterns. This deck is a revision of our very popular Lucky Sevens cards and is a great way to allow students to work independently at stations, giving them activity idea prompts to refine their fundamental movement skills. The detailed cards also allow educators the chance to learn more about various types of fundamental movement skills, which are the building blocks of all future activity. In terms of character development, the social and emotional shuffle cards by Everactive Schools include activities, prompting questions, and conversation sparkers. When incorporated throughout the year, students develop their social and emotional skills through active and engaging ways. This resource can be used with early, middle, and later years students and is also available in French. This resource is a great way to spark conversations on how students feel after participating in classroom activities, whether it's in the gym or the classroom or outside. Educators can use these cards to help students learn how to understand their own emotions as well as the emotions of others, contributing to their overall social emotional learning and self-regulation, which in turn supports their success in school and their personal lives. The suggested Find Your Spot activity is a personal favorite of mine, as it's a great way to show students how different people have different perspectives and feelings related to the same shared event. This resource is also a great way to capture formative assessment, allowing students to select an emotion to match how they felt at the end of a lesson or a project or a full school day. The Outdoor Learning Quick Draw by Everactive Schools, in partnership with Global Environmental and Outdoor Education Council, is designed to provide activity and lesson ideas for classes of any age and subject area to try outside. There are 4 suits with 13 cards in each suit, just like a typical deck of cards. Each suit focuses on a different concept, including physical literacy, outdoor skills, teamwork, and environmental action. This is one of Everactive's newest resources and has been a popular one amongst educators hoping to take learning outside on a more regular basis and learn principles of safety and alternative environments. With ready-made activities, ideas, and guiding prompts to help students learn concepts of teamwork and taking action to inspire their inner change maker, this resource is Monday ready for any educator. This is a great resource for promoting experiential learning and getting the chance to have students moving more in your everyday learning and taking them outside at any opportunity you can. Focusing on healthy relationships, the Everyday Mental Health Classroom resource from School Mental Health Ontario and the Elementary Teachers Federation of Ontario is a great way to put relationships first in your class. According to their website, healthy relationships are at the core of developing and maintaining mentally healthy equitable, and caring learning environments. You can help students learn to understand and appreciate diverse perspectives and identities, to emphasize with others, to listen, and to resolve conflict respectfully. Focusing on healthy relationship skills can benefit class culture and students' sense of belonging. We know that to have successful learners, we need to do our best to support healthy and happy learners. This resource allows you to select topics of interest, for example, empathy, and then gives potential practices, as they call them, that you can use to bring this to life in your class. Time allocations of the lessons are clear, as are the recommended age level and materials needed. This resource has everything from discussion prompts to supplementary readings, adaptations, and the evidence supporting the given practice. These could be a great resource to start your day with your class and/or build your community during scheduled connection times. They also provide great opportunities for debriefing after activities during physical education classes. In terms of growth and development, teachingsexualhealth.ca is supported by Alberta Education, Alberta Health Services, the Institute for Sexual Minority Studies and Services, the Alberta Society for the Promotion of Sexual Health, the Calgary Board of Education, and Edmonton Public Schools. This site houses ready-made lesson plans and resources in both French and English. You can customize your search to specific grades and even find pre-made quizzes, interactive tools, and group activity ideas on the site to bring your lesson to life. Best of all, the lesson plans available have direct links to the physical education and wellness curriculum and the associated outcomes and Cusps covered by each lesson. This was a go-to resource for me early in my career, and with the updated lessons, I think this will be a great one for educators to help implement the new physical education and wellness curriculum, especially in terms of growth and development and the outcomes related to human sexuality. If you're looking at tackling the concept of healthy eating and the outcomes within it, Teach Nutrition by Dairy Farmers of Canada's registered dietitians is a great resource. It's designed specifically for Alberta educators. The website can be navigated by selecting your grade level and has plenty of free resources you can order for yourself and/or for your entire school. My personal favorite, which I've used to teach healthy eating outcomes, are the food picture cards, which can be used to help students discover different types of food from various parts of the world. You can use these cards in a relay type activity and have students sort cards into groups based on their physical characteristics, such as their color or texture. And for older grades, you can have students try to create a well-balanced meal featuring proteins, carbohydrates, and fats. Or perhaps you could have students in older grades sort foods into those categories as well. Though it's not featured here, Alberta Health Services also has great resources for this topic, as does Everactive School's podcast called The Pod Class, which you can access wherever you download your podcasts. On this podcast, you can listen to leaders in the field speak about positive nutrition messaging based on current research. This really helped me to understand current research in the field and how to promote and how to teach healthy eating, which can be a difficult topic to approach, especially in schools with varying perspectives. Finally, when considering the organizing idea of financial literacy, Walnut Wellness by AFIA is a great resource. It can be navigated by the age range of your students and has great activity ideas for real-world use of money. This includes take-home type activities that can be done with students and their families. My favorite part of this resource is that there are ample connections to other organizing ideas and physical education and wellness outcomes, such as learning to purchase and design from a restaurant menu relating to healthy eating, as well as how to fundraise for a healthy schools event. The AFIA website also has a wealth of information on other physical education and wellness related topics. So be sure to check out these helpful resources too while you're taking a look at Walnut. Wellness. We're now going to take a quick look at some upcoming PD opportunities in case you want to further your learning. As part of our partnership, and in addition to this webinar for educators and our What's New with PEW webinar for educational and learning leaders, Everactive Schools, the Healthy Schools Lab, and the Alberta Regional Professional Development Consortia are pleased to present a series of upcoming professional development opportunities. As you can see by the dates listed, throughout November and into early December, we will be diving deeper into certain areas of the recently released Physical Education and Wellness Curriculum. Please consider joining us live for any and all of our virtual professional development opportunities at the times and dates listed on your screen. We will be learning more about making cross-curricular connections, diving deeper into the organizing idea of financial literacy and the associated outcomes. Exploring assessment of the new curriculum will also be a topic as well. You can register by scanning the QR code you see on your screen now, or by visiting the ARPDC website at arpdc.ab.ca. Please keep in mind that we are featuring 2 unique sessions for each topic, one tailored more to the needs of educators like teachers and educational assistants, and the other directed more towards an audience of educational and learning leaders, such as principals, team leads, and divisional consultants or leaders. If you want even more professional development, consider registering for EverActive School's annual conference, Shaping the Future. This conference takes place in Treaty 7 territory at the beautiful Chateau in Lake Louise on February 2nd to 4th, 2023, with pre- and post-conference opportunities available as well. If you'd like to learn from leaders in the field of physical education and wellness, and you'd like to attend an event that walks the talk of wellness, this is an opportunity you do not want to miss. You can register now by scanning the QR code on your screen or visiting www.everactive.org/STF. Thank you for taking the time to view this webinar. We appreciate and value your dedication to furthering your learning and improving your practice. We hope that the information we have provided will help you to continue to foster the pursuit and love of a healthy and active lifestyle within your learners. If you'd like to be entered into a draw for a free EverActive Schools resource, please consider completing our survey and evaluating this session titled What's New with PEW for Educators. To stay informed on the latest in the field of physical education and wellness, you can follow us on social media or visit our website shown on your screen at www.everactive.org. Thanks again for watching.